Okay, I'm going to present you a nice use case from a customer. So the goal is to send audit log from OCI here in Splunk. Okay, whatever you do on OCI, you will have logs in audit logs. Okay, and some customers are using Splunk, so they want to send audit logs to Splunk. To implement this solution, we have two parts. We are going to use Connector Hub. Connector Hub on OCI is a super nice service that allows you to connect a source to a target. As you can see, we can implement this use case with two connectors. The first connector here, audit logs to stream, okay, is a connector that is taking as a source logging with the audit log, okay, logs, and the target is streaming. It means you have a topic here. My topic is called audit, okay. The second connector here, the role and the goal is to send messages in the stream to a function, okay, and this function will call HTTP REST on Splunk HTTP event collector in order to send the log. Okay. Why having two connectors described here? Because we are able to do directly audit logs to function. But we prefer to have two connectors because if we have some problems, for example, regarding a Splunk outage, if you have a problem with a function deployment, if you have a problem with an HTTP event collector failures, and so on, you have the messages in the topic of OCI streaming, and you can do a query, a search, and you can do something, and that's nice, to have this two connector hub in order to be more strong if you have problems on a part of the architecture. Okay. The function is deployed here, and the name of the function, okay, is the name of the function. The name of the function, is audit to Splunk function deployed on audit FN application. This audit FN application, okay, is used to receive deployment of function. And here, this is the Docker image of the function. Okay. Okay, we can have a look to the code, and you can see it's a very, very simple code. Why? Because the function here will just need to read messages coming from Connector Hub. And so with Connector Hub, you can send a message. Each time the message will be sent to the function. You can send messages one by one or several messages at the same time. Okay, so it's nice. So you can tune what is the best solution. And then the function, the role of the function is very simple. Just do an HTTP call directly on Splunk. Okay. Just remember, when you receive the message from streaming, the message is encoded. So you need to decode it, base 64. Okay. Just a subtle thing. Okay. And so this code is super simple. You just have to deploy, to read messages, and to call an HTTP REST API on Splunk. Okay. In this project, you have some script if you want to do a test and to send yourself, for example, a messages to the stream audit and to read it. Okay, just to do a simple test in order to see if everything is okay around streaming. Okay, let's go. And here you see my Splunk server is running on a Docker container in a VM on OCI. Okay, it's a simple test. I did that very quickly. What you can see, I got 300,000 event in less than 24 hours. Okay, so the conclusion is you should not send all the audit logs to Splunk, and you need to filter. Okay, filtering. Okay, so I didn't do a filtering here because you need to know what you want to filter, and it is related to each customer. But sure, you have to filter. And for example, for identity access management, you can filter create user, delete user, update policy, create token, okay, logs. For networking, update security list, and so on. For compute, launch instance, terminate instance, and so on. So it means with this first implementation only for a demo, if you want to use it, okay, you have to add a filtering on things that you want because you shouldn't send all the audit logs to Splunk. Saying that, there is another solution that could be used, okay? Because on OCI, you have another service called event rule, event, okay? And in event, you can create a rule. For example, here, you can see an event and the rule say, I will have an event on create snapshot, delete snapshot, create bot volume backup, okay? And what is the target? In this case, the target is a function, okay? And, okay, but I can add another, okay, here, target. And you see, I can end streaming. And so I can add my audit log too. In this case, each event that is very specific due to the condition. For example, I will have a specific event if you update a security list on a VCN. You send a message on the topic audit, okay, this stream, and with the message we call a function. But the difference is you will have an event that say something happened on, for example, the security list, okay, of my VCN and of my subnet. But you don't know who. In this case, the function need to use OCI SDK to query audit log and, for example, to find who is responsible for updating the security rule and, for example, what is the security rule added, what is the port added or deleted on this security list, okay? And it's very, very specific, but sure, you need to write a specific code in order to decrypt, okay, what is the real meaning of this event? What happens on audit log, okay? So you can, and you have two solutions. You can globally sniff audit logs and send them to Splunk, but you add filtering, okay? You can create specific rule with a specific event on a specific thing, for example, a backup on a DB, okay? And then receiving the message in the function, you need to implement a query on audit log with the OCI SDK to find more information and to log this information into Splunk. You can to create a very nice function using AI, for example. And instead of just doing a query to audit log, this function can use AI in order to create the message and the log that will be sent to Splunk. As you see, you can do a lot of things, and it really depends on what you want to follow in terms of event and security logs on audit logs. But following and sending all the audit logs to Splunk is too much, really, and you need to filter. Thank you for your attention.